Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of clearbnb. So we're gonna continue working on our short-term rental marketplace. There's already been several episodes. I think this might be episode 8 or maybe 9. I don't know. We'll have to go back and check the numbers. Right now we have a way to sort of like create your own listings and a couple different pieces around that. But I think it makes sense to start talking about how guests might view a listing. And we'll just kind of dig into how we might create a separate detail view and a list view for searching for listings. And we'll start off just super basic and then continue working our way up. Ultimately, we want to provide someone like a way to actually book a listing. And so we'll have to figure out pricing and how do we move money around and things like that. So in this episode, why don't we focus on just getting some list and detail views up and running. So I've got clearbnb up here. We'll fire it up, refresh the page here. This is kind of what it looks like right now. It's very much just using the Tailwind UI. And then we've got /host/listings, which I think, okay, so undefined method listings for nil class. So this means that the current user is nil. So in this controller, in the host listings controller, we should make sure that someone is logged in. So let's go to the host listings controller. Host listings controller. So here we want to require that someone is logged in, and I think, yeah. So this is using devise. We set up a before action and we say authenticate the user. So now if we come over here and hit refresh, we're redirected to the sign in page where we can hit sign in. And now we're logged in and we can see our listings. We've got this test listing. And right now the detail view for a host is just the JSON output for the test listing. And then you can edit it if you want. Right now, the forms and everything look pretty nasty, but everything is functional. So this is like the hosting side of it. And so there are, on the other end, when you are a guest browsing listings, I think we want to have just like a /listings view where you can see all of the different rooms or houses that you can potentially book. And so why don't we work on that now? So we'll just say Rails G controller. We're going to generate a new controller called the listings controller, and it'll have an index page and a show page to start. I think, yeah, that's probably a good spot to start. So then inside of our routes file, we want to add resources listings do. Now I namespaced the other listings controller underneath host, but for the guest listings, I don't think we want to namespace them. I think the path will be more familiar for sort of just end users if they can just go to like clearbnb.com/listings or whatever that ends up being. And we actually don't need a do end here. Someone recently commented on YouTube and asked for a deep dive on routes. So I do plan to make an episode all about Rails routes and how they all work and fit together, but right now we're just going to add resources listings. This will create 7 different routes. And it turns out we can limit those 7, which are create, update, delete, show a way to show the detail for it, a way to show the edit form, a way to show the new form, and a way to list them all. So that's the 7 routes, but we can limit it so that it only creates the routes for the index, which is the list of listings, and the show page, which is going to be like our detail view. And so now if we jump over here and refresh the page, so now we've got the listings index. So we'll go to our listings index page here. And for now, I think it makes sense just to kind of like iterate over a bunch of listings. So I don't know, UL, LI, yeah, so we want to say at listings.each do listing. And for each listing, we'll create an LI. And inside that LI, we will just put a link to the listing. I can't remember if we used title or name or something. Yeah, title. To the listing path for a listing. And that should get us at least started here. So if we refresh the page, oh, we need to end our loop here. All right. And we don't actually have an instance variable for listings. So from our listings controller inside the index action, we want to say listing.all just to start off. We'll get like all the listings that exist. And right now there's just one test listing. And then over time, as we add more listings, we should get more, or we'll just see like, somehow I think we want to break out this view so that we see a map. So you can see where on the map your listing is. And then on the left, we have kind of like a table maybe that shows an image of the listing and the price and things like that. But to start off, let's just get the listings on the page. This is kind of annoying me too, this little profile settings situation. So I think I'm gonna actually just like go into the layout for the application. And I think I'm gonna try to track this stuff down. So your profile. And yeah, view notifications, like all of this stuff that's up here. I think I want to take it out. So let's see, profile dropdown. So the profile dropdown, I wonder if I can just add like hidden or something just to like get it out of the way. Okay, great. And then maybe when we can go back and like add a thing where we like, when we click on this, it toggles the class, which like re-shows it or whatever. But for now, I just want to kind of get it out of the way. All right, so listings are here. We see test, and when we click on test, we're brought to the show page for the listing. And on the show page, so listings show, we want to add like some sort of details. So here we can just maybe say like at listing.title, and then let me pull up the listing model so we know what's on it. So it's got the host ID, the about. So we'll probably have sections for like, I don't know, the host, and maybe some more information about the host, host.email or something. For now should be fine. Ultimately, we don't actually want to show the email of the host, but for now, this should like at least get us started. I guess we're also going to want like the about at listing.about. We're going to want to show all like the details about how many rooms there are and things like that. But for now, let's keep it like this. And that instance variable isn't going to be available until we say at listing is listing.find params ID. Notice that here I'm not limiting, or I'm not scoping these queries to the current user. I'm just saying like, give me all the listings. So this is something we'll want to go back and update. Okay, we'll grab the listing.host. So that should give us, okay, so that is the right host's email address. What other things are on the user though? Maybe we can just use name instead. Host.name. And okay, maybe I don't have a name saved on myself. Let's see. Rails C. User.last.update, and we'll set the name to CJ. Maybe refresh here, and now you can see the host is CJ. And then we've got the name and the about for the listing is showing there. We also want to have like photos and other stuff. So listing show. Let's pull this back up. So we've got the title, the about. Let's see. At listing.max guests. Typically, you don't see the actual address for the listing, but you might see, for instance, the city that the listing is in. So we can do just like at listing.city and at listing.state, just so that those things are available. So we see Reno, Nevada. That's cool. We've got a country, lat long, status. Okay, I guess you know what the status. We only want to see published listings here. So one thing we could do is we could come into our listings controller and we could filter this to say listing.where status is published, right? So that's one option. And now we would only see published listings. And, or I guess we need to go back to this route here. And no, there's actually no published listings right now, so nothing would be published. So in order to make that work, we need to go into our data, our local data model for this listing, and say like listing.last, and say .update status to published. And now if we refresh the page here, now we see test. But what I wanted to point out was that I don't think we want to do this in the controller per se. So instead of having a query directly in the controller, you generally are going to want to use this sort of like query a bunch of times. And so, for instance, right here, right? So right now what we're doing is we're sort of scoping the listings that are coming back on the list of listings. We're scoping those to only the listings where the status is published. So the other thing that we're going to want to do is we only want to have the show page work. So this detail page here, which is showing listing 1, like this should only work if the listing is published also. So if we go back here and we update the status again to draft, then when we refresh this page for the show page, like we should not actually see any listing here because it's not technically published. So we don't want it to show up under listings/ID. Instead, what we want to do is we also want to use the same scope here. So like .where status is published, right? And so because we're doing these two scopes, or we're like scoping the results the same way twice here, rather than needing to do that in a bunch of places, what we can do is we can create a scope inside of the listing model. And that scope can be, it will be a tool that we can use anywhere we want to only return published listings. And so you can use a default scope. So Rails model scopes. So yeah, you could use a default scope where anytime you did any queries, it came back with just published listings. But we only want that to be true on the guest side, not necessarily on the host side. And so what we can do instead is we can use this scope method, and scope is going to scope. So scope is a like top level class method that we can call on application record classes. We're going to pass it the name of the scope and then a lambda. And the lambda is going to contain all of the query function stuff. So yeah, so ours is going to look like this. So we're going to say scope is published, or with published. Let's do that. Because published, I think published is also going to be L is listing.last, L.published. Okay, so published question mark would give us the whether or not the status is published. So I guess we can do published. And that is going to be a lambda of like where status is published. And now inside of the listings controller, we should be able to just say listing.published and listing.published. And that should work as expected. So now if we come back over here, refresh the page, it says it couldn't find listing with ID 1. So in practice, this would show a 404 page to the user, which is exactly what we want. And also when we come back to our listings index, this will also not include the listing that should be published. So now if we come back over here and we update back to published and refresh the page, now we see the listing. So this is again showing, and now the detail page also continues to work. So that is one way that you can add an ActiveRecord scope. Let's see what else we should add to this. So listing model, listing show. Okay, city, state, zip, country, status, and then we've got in terms of associations, we've got rooms. So we might say something like I don't know, at listing.rooms.each do room, and inside of here we can print out like I don't know, room.beds.count or something like I don't know. So let's make this a UL, and then this is going to be an LI. And I can't remember if in the bed, so in the room, we have, what do we have here? We have the room type, so we could do like room.room type, and then some number of beds or something. Let's just see what this looks like. We get back 1, okay. So if we go back to host listings/new, let's make a new listing. So this is going to be something like cabin in the woods. Enjoy some time away in the woods by yourself. I don't know. And the address is going to be in, I don't know what's going on with the address situation here. We're getting an error from our JavaScript. So we'll have to look into that. I don't know what's going on with the address autocomplete, but yeah. Oh, also it lost our stuff. Cabin in the woods. Cabin in the woods. All right, create listing. All right, we got our listing. And now if we go back to /listings, we should see both test and, oh, no, that one wasn't published. So we'll publish it. Okay, so now we've got test and we've got cabin in the woods. And okay, so now if we look at cabin in the woods, it should show us some details here. And this looks a little whack because there is no city and state. I think we should like validate that there is city and state, and we got to figure out what's going on with that address input. Also, I do think it would be nice if inside of our like host listings view here, if we had a way to like publish the listing from here, and also to, I don't know, I think yeah, there's just like some improvements we can make. We also want to be able to like make we want to be able to add rooms, and I don't think we have an edit rooms button yet, so I think we have to go to like /rooms or something, and that allows us to add bedrooms and add beds and such. So let's do a little bit of cleanup here. So on the host listings view, host listings index view, right now we're printing out the link to the listing and its status and a couple other things. I think we want to update that view to be some sort of table or like grid where we're showing you each of your listings, especially if you become a property manager that has several listings. It'll get more and more important to like actually have lots of view, or like to be able to see lots of different listings. And so, yeah, I don't know if we want a grid list or a stacked list, some sort of table. I think maybe stacked lists might be what we're looking for. And yeah, I think this looks pretty nice. And we can put like the picture of the listing and then the title of the listing, the address, and then whether like what the status is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, let's just copy this and drop it in here. Wow, that's a lot of HTML. Okay. All right, so for each LI, we're doing this. And then what do we want? We want like the entire thing to be, yeah, a link to the host listing path for the listing. And what else do we want? We also want the status somewhere, and we want a button to delete. So for now, let's comment that out. Is that gonna, no, this, can't remember how exactly that works. Let's see. All right, so we've got your listings, and instead of, okay, so I guess there's probably several LIs here, I'm betting. So, yep, there's the first one. So we want to just delete the other two. Okay. And then instead of Ricardo Cooper, we want the listings title. L.title. All right, so now we've got test, and then Ricardo Cooper is down here as the email address. Let's make this the actual address. L.address. and listing. So we're storing address line 1, address line 2, city, state, postal code, and country. And so for address, what I want to do is I think I'm going to return just like address line 1 and address line 2 and city and state. City and state. Okay, and then yeah, we should be able to just spit out the address. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then instead of the, I guess like instead of the little email icon there, it would be kind of nice to have that be a hero icon for a like a pin or something. Hero icon for map pin. Let's see. Is there an SVG for this? Map. Pin. Pin, shopping bag, shopping cart, map. Okay. Copy the SVG. And then I think we can just paste it here. Let's see. Refresh. Look at that. Okay, now we've got a map. Cool. And then applied on blah, 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 complete the phone screening. So I guess we don't really have a published at, but we can have, yeah, let's just have the status there instead of completed phone screening. We'll do l.status. So these are both showing published. And then we can say .capitalize so that it shows like a nice pretty view there. And then what I think we also might want to do is like if it's published, oh, actually location marker is actually better than map. I like that. Okay. All right. So change my mind. Location marker. That's what I was looking for before was the map pin. Did that change anything? Wait. That's weird. Maybe I didn't copy. Wait. Location marker. Copy SVG. Okay, that looks different. All right. Here we go. And refresh. Location marker. Okay, so that looks much better. So this checkbox, though, I think we only want it to be checked in green if it is published. Otherwise, I think we want some other stuff. So right now, this is the hero icon, and this is if it's published. So I think we want to do something like if l.published, then show this. Otherwise, we want to show something else. And in order to look at two different listings, I'm going to update one to be draft. And so now we have one in draft and we have one that's published. So what should our draft be? What icon should we use for draft? Not ban. I guess we could use a check circle or something, or maybe a clock. I don't know. Something about it being pending or like not complete, like a work in progress. What seems like a good icon for a work in progress? I'm thinking maybe this clock here that's like filled in, and also we can make its color. We can make the color text orange 400 or something. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, that didn't work. Flex shrink 0 MR 1.5 height 5 width 5. Okay, so this, how come we're not turning orange? Let's see. Tailwind CSS orange text. text. Oh, maybe it's yellow. Text yellow. Text yellow. Not orange, text. Oh. Also, I spelled orange wrong. Let's see if that worked. No, text yellow. Nice. Wow. Okay, that looks super cool. Okay, so then applied on January whatever. Like, I don't know if we even need that, right? Like, maybe we could see, maybe we can put something else there, like last booked or something, like I don't know, last seen by guests or something, and then we can put some date. That'll be like a to-do. We'll have to come back and actually update that. For now, let's just comment it out and see. Okay, that's fine. All right, so we've got 2 listings. Your listings, I think we want to make that even bigger. XL or something. And text bold. I don't know. Does that do what I think it does? No. Bold or like text sizes, font size, font family, font style, text. Okay, so I was looking for like 2XL, and let's see. Okay, and then in terms of font styles or font weights, I guess, font dash bold instead of text, font dash. Okay. Cool. So your listings, and then I also want that to have like a little bit of breathing room. Like it seems like it's pretty tight underneath the top of this list. Notice how much breathing room there is around dashboard, right? There's kind of like even spacing between this horizontal reference and the top of the D, and then from the bottom of the D to the top of sort of this panel. And underneath your listings, we have like a little bit of breathing room from top to here, but underneath there's like no space. And so I think we want some sort of like margin bottom, so that there is, yeah, so just like M something, I don't know, M8. I don't know if that's a thing. M8. Okay, too much. Oh, you know what? The other thing is that I only want it around the bottom. So I think I have to do like MB. And I think that's probably too much. Yeah, so let's do like 4. We'll binary search our way into it. Okay, that's looking pretty tight. All right, so we've got your listings. Here's a couple listings. We've got the address, they're published. You click on it. When you are the host, you're gonna wanna see like all of this stuff, but in practice, whatever. The JSON is fine for now. Let's leave it as is, but let's add to, so host listing show. Let's make this, let's actually make this consistent so that like all these H1s have the same classes. Text 2XL, font bold, MB4. I wonder too, like how in practice, how folks are doing this. Like, are you using like Tailwind CSS's alias tool to create a class that's like, oh, every time you have an H1, you just drop in like page title or whatever, and then it uses all these classes, or are you putting them directly in your HTML? Leave a comment down in the description. How are you using Tailwind CSS? It's definitely something I'm like new to and I'm just kind of poking around with. But yeah, super curious what y'all are, how y'all are using that. So let's say edit rooms. So we've got edit the like details. We've got edit rooms, edit host listing rooms path. And let's see, does that work as expected? Edit host, or maybe it's just host listing rooms path. So we've got a link to edit the details. We've also got a link to edit the rooms. And edit rooms brings you over to here. Rooms, I guess like we want to also make rooms have the same style of title. So here we're going to make this 2XL font bold MB4. And okay, so that looks pretty good. We've got our room type, and then we can add a bed. And wait, what? Why didn't that work? Why is my JavaScript not working? Oh, you know what? It's because I'm still using Webpacker stuff. Split vertically. bin web, or I guess bin webpack dev server. So people have also asked in the comments on some previous videos why we're still using webpack dev server. And the reason is that when I started this project, it was like very much still the most common tool that folks were using. And so I have not switched to ESBuild or JSBuild or Vite or whatever the next hotness thing is going to be. But I also am not seeing a really common or like something that people have standardized on yet. So I kind of just want to wait and see what folks land on. And yeah, so we'll eventually get some sort of other updated handling for our JavaScript assets and such. But for now, I think, yeah, it's the way that we've got it is totally fine. I kind of forgot that we had this cool little card here that shows the room type and how many beds there are and what kinds of beds there are. Is this working as expected? If we add a full and we add a twin and we say add room, are we getting a full and a twin? We're getting a full and a twin. Okay, so that room thing is totally working. I guess we need another way to get back to the listing. So while we're here, maybe we should say something like I don't know, link to back to at listing. I can't remember if we have the listing here or not. Back to listing. Let's see what we've got. Okay, so in the index, we do have the listing. So back to, let's see, at listing.title. And we'll say host listing path for at listing. And that should give us a button up here or a link that will take us back to test. Cool. And now we can edit the details. We can edit the rooms. I guess we want to do this also for our edit view. And here we'll say, edit. Oh. All right. Edit test. I definitely want to come back and clean all this up so that it does not look like trash. But for now, this is fine. Okay, what have we got going on? I guess back over here on /listings, we have our list of listings. Oh, the other thing I wanted to add to the index view when you're looking at something as a host, or maybe on the show page. Yeah, on the show page. Let's make a button that allows you to publish or unpublish. I think that's what we want to do. I'm trying to think like if we want a button that publishes or if we want to just make that status field inside of the edit. So listing form, like inside of the edit form here, if we just make another input that's like, status, and then we can have a select box where the name is listing status. And then the options are going to be all of the different possible values for status for a listing. So it's going to be something like this where we say option and we have like the status here. But in order to get these statuses, we need to figure out how to get those out of the listing object. So I think we can say like something like listing.statuses, and there's probably other methods though, like listing.status, listing.methods select, like m.starts with stat. Okay, so that is the only one. All right, so statuses. So listing.statuses.map onto the key, and we don't care about the value. So just give us back the key, and or maybe I can just say .keys. Okay, nice. So then we just want to iterate over all of these. So listing.statuses.keys. So listing, oh, I guess listing.statuses.keys.each do, and then for each of those statuses, we want to create an option here. So if we go into host listings, just host listings, and then we jump into one here and we say edit the details, we should now be able to pick, oh, this listing is archived or this listing is published. I think this one was already published, so we want to make sure that we're checking or we're selecting, we're pre-selecting, because right now, right, if we refresh the page, draft is what is selected. So if we click update, it should update it to draft, but it's not going to work yet because we have to update the controller too. But so if we go back to the host listings controller, we also want to permit status here. And but if we look in the database, right? So if we find listing one, listing.find one, the status right now is still published, even though it shows draft here. And if we say update the listing and we're redirected back to the listing show page, the status is draft. That's because we just updated it in the controller. So when we say edit details, draft is correct. But if we set this to published and say update listing, it will show published here. But as soon as we go back to edit, it's going to show draft, right? Because right now we don't have any logic in our form to check off or to select this option. So what we want to do is say something like, print out selected, I think, or checked or something, if the current listing dot status is the same as status, and if it is, then it should check the box. So now we see published. So if we mark it as archived and say update the listing, now this says archived, and when we go to our edit page, it should show archived, and it does. I don't know if we want archived to still show, or if we even want that to be a button or like a status you can click, because it kind of makes sense to say like, okay, once something is archived, it's like no longer available. You can't even see it here anywhere. But for now, I think that is okay. So let's mark this back to published. We'll say update listing. And then when we go back to all of the listings here, we now see test is available. And if we come back to this view, we see this one is in draft. And we can say edit details, mark this one as published, update the listing. And now when we go back to listings, we should see both. And we see test and we see cabin in the woods. So listings, index. Let's also make this one have the class text to XL, MB4, and font bold. All right, so now we've got our two listings. For the guest, when the guest is viewing these, we're gonna wanna show something a little bit different. Also, we need some like pricing situation. Also, I don't think I like this dashboard thing anymore. So application, HTML, ERB, dashboard, just like, I think I'm just gonna delete that like entire thing. Let's see. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong one. This one, header. Yeah, let's just take this out and see what happens. Okay, let's take this out too. And this. Yeah, okay, whatever. This is better. And then where this says dashboard, I want this to actually say listings. And then here, this is going to be a link that goes to /listings. And we'll have to go through and figure out like, how do we mark these as sort of this dark background when you're on the path that has that dark background versus like whatever other things you might have. So the other ones that I think we're going to end up with that we can just kind of start playing around with now is having like bookings or something, or reservations. And that'll be like all your current and past reservations. I don't know if we're going to have any others, but this is like probably all we need to start with is listings and reservations. And we can probably even like add this path like reservations, and it just won't do anything right now, right? Like when you click on it, it's going to bring you to a page that doesn't exist. Other things that we can do, we're going to want to like drop pins on a map where the listings that are showing right now exist. We're going to want to add pagination and filtering and sorting and searching and all kinds of fun stuff. But this is a pretty solid start. I think we're going to want probably like, yeah, also like images for the each listing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to leave it at this for this episode. We've kind of gone through just a little bit of cleanup, some adding listings to a list. We talked about a scope with ActiveRecord. We talked about using an enums values for creating a select box. And yeah, so I think this is where we'll leave it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.